If I don't want 9 to 5, I need to figure out what is my freedom number.
How do you define financial freedom?
Financial freedom gives you the ability to say no. Most people don't really truly understand the nature of money. Like, money has the same characteristics as water.
What actually does 5D investing means?
Invest into things that are, imagine yourself going for coffee or a date with money, and then have an honest conversation and say,
Any piece of investment advice if they are planning to have a passive income?
I would say people's biggest fear actually on a subconscious level is the fear of what other people will say. What will people say if I fail?
Hi everyone, welcome to Stories That Matter, where conversations aren't just heard, they are felt. Today joining me on this conversation is Sheikh Saifuddin, who is a 5D investor, international speaker, artist, and a philosopher. And he's here with us today to guide you through your journey from 5D to 3D. He's here to bridge that gap between 5D to 3D and guide you how to live a life full of financial freedom and security. So without any wait, let's welcome Sheikh Saifuddin on our show, Stories That Matter. Hi, Sheikh Saifuddin. Welcome to Stories That Matter.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here. Pleasure.
Same here. It's our pleasure. When I went through your Instagram, what fascinated me was 5D investing. I think that's what was like, what is that? What is 5D investing?
Right.
And I want my listeners also to know what actually does 5D investing means. Is it like a spiritual buzzword or is it like something related to finance? So what does that really mean in terms of wealth?
Well, for me, I created that term, so it's not something you're going to find. It's 5D investor, so it's something that related to me because I am an investor by trade, and yes, there is investing that's, your typical investing, but when I do 5D investor, I think about conscious investing. So I like to invest into things that are in full alignment to the life I want. So I only invest in things that are more related in a more fifth dimensional space, in the sense that it is in alignment with, I don't just invest in anything, I invest in things that are in congruence with the type of life I want, and the type of investments that I believe are good for the world, or something related to our new changes on Earth that's happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
So more aligned towards the future.
Both future, ancient, bit of both. Let's say ancient future.
So what's the current investment you have done? Right now, if I ask you, what is that key investment you did recently, which is, you call it as 5D investment?
A really interesting one recently was probably the investment into olive grove. So I purchased 2,000 olive trees. And it's a really cool investment because for me, I love passive income. So I love passive income to create my life where I can make money when I sleep, essentially.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
This one specifically is very investing because I love olive oil and I love agriculture and things of that nature. But olive trees actually last from 300 to 500 years. So basically this will be creating returns for my children's children. So for me, that's like a 5D investment where it's like you're thinking long term, you're thinking current. As a tree grows, it creates more returns because trees just grow, so the returns naturally grow as well. So that's a very cool investment that I've done recently. Other investments are like things that create my lifestyle, create passive income, or homes in different countries because I like to travel around a lot. But I also realized I was traveling the world for quite some time. And after a while, you get tired of hotels and Airbnbs. So I'm like, you know what? I want to land in a country and have a closet full of my clothes. So like now, I'm purchasing homes in different countries so that I like to spend a lot of time in.
Okay.
Or seasons that I like to do. So, I'll come to this country and just check into my own place or check in.
Wow.
So it's like a fifth dimensional investment, like in that sense. Or, there's other things, some blockchain related cryptocurrency that I believe will be integral part of the future of finance in the world. So I'm like a top holder in one of these cryptocurrencies. So there's a different range. There's a range of things that I believe.
How do you figure out like this is is aligning with your mindset. This is aligning with what you want. How do you figure out? It's difficult, right? Like people who are actually want to go into that zone of financial freedom, and they are stuck in that range of 9 to 5 job. How
Yes.
do they figure out, like, this is what is aligned internally to me, and I want to go ahead with this? How does that point come?
Well, I think it's important to first determine what it is you actually want. What do you want your life to look like? Okay, so if I want my life, for me, I knew I always wanted freedom. I used to be a 9 to 5er and I hated it personally. I got
Okay.
laid off multiple times. I was in a corporate job. I worked for, Fortune 500 companies.
Okay.
But it was not for me. I knew, like, in my post university, like I was, in the workforce, but I did not enjoy it. So, first I would start things that I'm okay, I need time freedom and location freedom. I'm like, I need to be able to, so I look for businesses or investments that can produce that. So I started looking into that. And I've done many different things along the way, e-commerce, and then I landed upon real estate, which obviously, if, in Canada, it's a big, it's a guaranteed way to almost create financial freedom
Okay.
for most people and around the world too. So I landed into that amongst other things. Coming to Dubai, made some investments here as well. That has allowed some more financial freedom. So for me, it was like knowing what I want. Okay, so if I want freedom, if I don't want 9 to 5, I need to figure out what is my freedom number. Okay, so if my freedom number is, I don't know, is it 20,000 dirhams, per month, or whatever that number is here in Dubai?
Yeah.
Your expenses. Okay, so I have to keep that number in mind. What will cover my expenses and my lifestyle to be able to not have to work? You don't need to think I need $10 million. Just focus on the monthly amount that you want. I want 20,000, 30, whatever it is, right? You know your lifestyle. You know what you're happy with.
Yeah.
First, focus on that.
Okay.
If your goal is to leave the 9 to 5, right? I would focus on getting to that freedom number. So come up with a freedom number, and then look for different vehicles that you can go into or look into where you can, try to obtain that freedom number. And that way, when you obtain freedom, then you can do things you love. You can create podcasts, you can create interviews, or do things you want, not out of survival, but because you enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's a great point to add, that you end up doing things which you enjoy and which you're passionate about. And I think, a very good point, that you need to have a defined number. People start with, I want to make millions, right? They don't come to that fixed number, which will actually lead to that life. I think that's a great point to start with.
Yeah,
and identify.
Yeah, because you can make millions, but even once you obtain the millions, you have to know what to do with the millions, right?
Yeah.
So it's one thing, actually, they all want, even billionaires, they'll be like, I want freedom, ultimately. I want a level of freedom in my life where I can do what I want, when I want, with who I want at a certain point. So eventually it'll still come to cash flow. Ultimately, you want, I'll call 5D cash flow. You need cash flow coming in. It's not really about cash in hand. It's about cash flow, the flow of cash coming in. How much cash is going out and how much cash is coming in. So you want cash flow.
You meet a lot of billionaires because you give one-to-one consultation to a lot of billionaires, and they are your clients, I believe. So what is their mindset, being there at a position where they can actually live a life of financial security, financial freedom? So what still holds back, and then what sort of, like, what they are looking up to you?
My observation is that I've only met one, but I've met many very high net worth people.
Okay.
And once they have, say a massive exit or something from a company or crypto or something, right? Either I observe that they focus almost 99% of time on their health.
Okay.
They spend all their time on trying to be as healthy as possible. Or they find different vehicles to put their money into so it can spit off some cash flow. So they really don't have to ever worry about it. They can take care of themselves, their family. Obviously, it's at a much larger scale than someone that just wants to quit their 9 to 5. But ultimately, even if you win $10 million, you have to think like, okay, if I just consume $10 million and you're 30 years old, you still have quite a few years left of spending. So you have to think of a place where to put that money to create cash flow for you to survive, right? And not consume the initial capital.
Money should work for you. You should not work for money. That's the mindset you need to create. And you said like you earn money while sleeping. So what is actual financial freedom for you? How do you define financial freedom?
Yeah, I would say financial freedom gives you the ability to say no to things you don't want to do. That's a real thing. It's having the ability to say no. So you're not obligated to do things that you don't feel like doing.
Yeah.
That's the best part of it, I would say, is that you don't need to do anything you don't want to do. And you just you do the things you love to do with the people you love and do as little of the things you hate, So, and buying your time back, because time is very short. So time is actually the most scarce commodity on earth, because you can't mine it, you can't make it, you can't create it, but you can buy back your time. You can buy back your time, because if your time is being consumed in traffic, to commuting to a job you don't enjoy, working at a job you don't like, for a boss you don't enjoy, commuting home, like most of your time and life is really being, and then you don't have the energy to go home and spend time with your family or friends or whatever, right? So I think time, like buying back your time is really, really important.
What's the best step to start with? Like how they should start around it? Like they want that. They have that vision. I don't want 9 to 5. I want to have flexibility. I want to have freedom. Do you think like, is there any mindset change which is required, which is stopping them and not letting them take a step? What is holding them back? Everyone is like, it goes in circle. That thought is there, but it is just going in circles, but there is nothing, you're not able to come out of that loop. You understand that? Like, it's just that they are stuck in that mind. They want it, but they are in the loop. So what makes them, stuck in that mindset? Were you also part of that loop?
Yes, absolutely.
And how did you overcome that?
When I first got into my investing career, I read a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Great book by Robert Kiyosaki. It's a very, very famous book. But it teaches you assets versus liabilities. You have to just understand assets versus liabilities. So what is an asset and what is a liability? Assets are things that put money in your pocket, and liabilities are things that take money out of your pocket. So especially here in Dubai, there's a lot of flexing going on. A lot of people are spending money they don't have to impress people that they don't necessarily like, right? So when you get caught up in the trying to keep up with everyone, and you spend money on designer items that you can't afford, and you're not actually just basic financial literacy, investing into things that is for your future. You have to be future oriented a little bit, right? True. So it took me a while, I had to accumulate. It took me some time to accumulate assets and capital to be able to invest. But like, if you can save up some money, and I would say the best thing you can do is buy a piece of property. That's the number one thing I would say. Start with a piece of property, because you just need to add to your net worth, right? You need to think net worth, like what do I own? You need to own things, own businesses, own assets, things that go up in value, things that you can gain equity in. You need to have that kind of mindset, not just buying things that you can't afford because you want to show off. Like it's an endless loop that will never be fulfilled, right? You need to be disciplined there.
Yeah.
And save some money or look into assets to purchase as opposed to liabilities.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way to start with. You were in a mindset where you wanted to buy an LV or Gucci or some high-end brand, but then you said no. You said, no, I'm going to invest. This money is going to go towards my investment, maybe towards crypto or real estate.
Yeah.
So how did you overcome? Because that point where you have to have a will and strength to overcome that desire, right?
Yeah.
So what made you overcome that mindset?
Just increasing my financial literacy, just learning more about how money works, because most people don't really truly understand the nature of money.
Okay.
Money is energy at its core. At the core level, money is just energy. It's not paper. It's just, you need to treat money almost like you would, like money has the same characteristics as water. You know, it needs to flow. It can't be stuck. You need to send money out to bring more money back to you, right? So you need to create more waterways, create more rivers, create little springs and rivers and little cash flow, because you use literally water related terms to describe money, liquidity, cash flow, and banks, like river banks. Like there's so many different words that it's very similar in that sense, right? So when you understand that money is energy at its core, you know that creating value or buying value, something of that nature where people will always pay you for the value you create, doing a podcast like this, whatever it is, you're teaching people, you're bringing guests on, so many different avenues, right? But it's the energy exchange that happens. People, for the more output you have of a value you're providing the world, the more money will come in, right? So I think if you understand it on that level, that it's a reflection of the value that you're providing the world, more money will be able to flow into your life, right? So you can't hoard money. You can't really, because money wants to be free. You know, money needs to be free. And if you're too tight with it all the time, it means that you are living in fear and scarcity and lack. You know, but money likes to go out and go to work and create, you know, move around the economy and move from this shop to that person's hands, to that employee, to feed that person. And it just comes back, right? So understanding the true nature of money and how it works in this world will help you, I think, have a better relationship with it. When you have a better relationship, a better understanding of it, then you can create that abundance in your life.
So in one point of life, when you understood that this concept that money is energy, so you start playing around that, you start experimenting, right, with the things, because understanding one concept is a different thing, but actually practically living it takes time, right?
Yes, it takes time because it'll reveal parts of yourself, you know, like I always try to stretch myself financially, right? So they tell you, like investors, like, you know, don't take them out for lunch because they just invest your money and they become poor again. But that's the mindset you need to have. You need to think, some people get money and they just spend it. You know, it's the same thing why lottery winners, they'll win lots of money.
Yeah.
Right? But they're a poor person. Inside, they're a poor person, right? They have a poor mindset, okay?
Yeah.
And then they get a bunch of money. But because they have the mindset and the belief that they are a poor person, so on a subconscious level, what will happen is that they will go out and they will spend all that money and they will become a poor person again because they haven't removed their beliefs around money. So you have to think about your beliefs around money to allow yourself to be able to hold more money, right? So that's what happens when a lottery winners, you know, 99% of them lose all their money. Why does that happen? It's because it's like their internal thermometer is tuned to being poor. So unconsciously, they will go out and they'll spend money on many ridiculous things to get them back to their comfort zone, which is of a poor person. So it's so important to adopt the mind of a wealthy person and how they think around money and how they feel around money and what they do with their money, right? So money feels safe to come to you, right? Money looks at you and it's like, you're a safe person for me to come to and expand and I can expand with you. Some people, it will be like, I'm shrinking with you, right? So money will choose certain people that will help it grow.
Good point. Like what sort of, how money identifies such people? You said money chooses.
Yes.
Right? Money chooses you. So how money identifies that I shall go to this person. So what kind of identity or what kind of mindset that person needs to hold?
That they will be responsible with the money. They will also allow it to flow. They will create some sort of value with the money. They will invest the money. They will invest back into their business. They will pay some employees. Like they'll make a good use of the money. Whereas the poor person, they will just spend the money. I bought a Gucci bag. I bought some food. I took everybody out. I went on a holiday and I'm home again. You know, it's just for pleasure, you know, just for their own self-pleasure. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if it's solely for that, money will leave you as fast as possible, right? But if money wants to grow with you, it will come come to you and it will feel safe with you. It'll grow with you. It'll come back to you. It'll bring you more money friends, right? So that's
See,
how I
yeah.
think about it.
I think that's mind blowing. Like, it's not just treating money as only for your pleasure or just for throwing it out, using it, and just not, but actually creating a value.
Yes,
How you are going to give and serve it to the society.
exactly.
That's how that balance needs to be there.
Yes.
Yes, you can enjoy your money, but at the same time, you need to also serve the society and make a value
Yep.
out of it. I think
Exactly.
that's a very beautiful point you have touched base today. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it can open, it can really clarify how people are thinking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, look at this podcast studio, right? You have to rent a podcast studio, but they created some sort of value for people to come, and
Yeah.
everything's recorded for you. Everything's beautiful, and they created some sort of value. So it's like when you build a garden, you know,
Yeah.
all the butterflies will show up, all the bees will come, and the flowers will grow, right? But
Yeah.
you have to build something that creates value, and they will come and they'll drink from it, and it'll just attract it. You'll attract in more and more money.
I love that.
So if you develop your mindset around money, your frequency around money, how you feel around money, you will become a person where money is attracted to.
I want to touch base on the common beliefs which people are carrying, which is related to scarcity mindset. Maybe you were also carrying at one point. Like, what was that belief and how did you change?
Common beliefs around money that I held to for a long time. And I still have, the more you stretch, the more your limiting beliefs will come up. But
Okay.
from a poor middle class background and the average person, common beliefs we're told is that, wealthy people are evil, that they're bad people. They must have cheated or lied or stolen. They also believe that they have to work really hard for money, that they must exchange their time for money. Money
Yeah.
must be in exchange of my labor equals money.
Correct.
That's also a very limiting belief. Money is only for certain people. It's not for me. Or it's more humble, or money doesn't buy happiness. That's also a limiting belief around money, right? It sounds
Yeah,
virtuous,
yeah.
but it's also money will say, okay, you don't think I'll make you happy? Let me go to someone who thinks I will make them happy, right? So believing you have to work hard, you have to work really, really hard for money. Or you can adopt the belief that money comes to me easily and flows to me from many different sources all the time and many different forms and comes in abundance. There's different beliefs that you can have around money. So switching from these lack, scarcity, fear, judgmental beliefs to a more limitless, unblocked, abundant, loving relationship with money. What I tell people often is that, when's the last time, if you've grown up in a house where your parents argued around money, there's a lot of tension around money, there's a lot of stress around money. I think it was like 90+% of relationships, I think, divorce because of money. I read that stat somewhere. Don't quote me on it, but it's a very, very high
Yeah.
percentage. It's
Okay.
around money, So many people have grown up around their parents arguing around money, for example. So this creates this belief from a very young age, right? So it requires you to deprogram
True.
and reprogram what you believe around money, right? So when you believe different things around money, you'll behave you have different emotions towards money. When you have different emotions towards money, you're going to act differently with money, right? So a common practice I remember doing is like, if you meditate, imagine yourself going for coffee or a date with money. And when you go for a coffee or date with money and you were to reconcile your differences, you reconcile this relationship with money. Maybe when's the last time you had a real conversation with money? And what would you like to say to money? What would you like what would you like to say to money, and what would you want money to say to you? And then have a honest conversation and say, at the end of it all, reconcile your differences and say, I love you, hug each other, and now you become allies.
Wow. Wow, that's a cute one.
It is.
Going on a date with money.
Yeah, take money on a date.
Oh, that's a cute way to deal with and develop that relationship with money.
Yeah.
I think so. When we are moving, we want to move from a scarcity mindset or fearful mindset to abundance mindset. We are carrying that energy. You mean to say every thought we are having around money, if it's a limiting thought, it is having low frequency.
Yes.
And if it's an abundant thought, or you're having a beautiful relationship with money, and you're saying money comes with easily to me, and I'm very happy around money, and I'm dating money, let's say, you just mentioned. So that means when you're doing so, you are actually increasing your frequency around money.
Yes.
Is it like you're vibrating higher?
Yeah, you want
That's
to.
how you change your states, because people have heard like you need to change limiting beliefs, but how do you do that? I think that's where people need to work on. So this cute advice which you have given of dating money, I think that's a really beautiful piece of advice, which I think if our listeners try to do it, it can actually subconsciously change their beliefs around money.
Absolutely. I mean, I did that practice for myself, but I think
How long it took for you to come out of that? Somebody who's actually thinking money is bad or money is evil, to reach to that state of abundance or high vibration, kind of state, how long it takes? Is it like a shift just like that, or it takes time?
it takes time because you reconcile with it. Yes, you feel into it. You change your energy around it. You have to write down your beliefs around money every single day. Write it down until it becomes your belief. But what's next is that you have to take the actions that the rich and abundant version of you does. So if you go to the grocery store and you see organic apples and you see the chemical apples, but you're like, yeah, I really want the organic ones. But you know what? It's $3 more.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to go with this one. But will the rich version of you do that? Or does the rich version of you says, $3, I deserve fresh organic food.
Wow.
Let me buy the fresh organic food. Yeah. Okay, now guess what? Now you have this belief. I deserve it, so I buy it for myself. I deserve this, so I buy it for myself. This, you know, I don't say spend all your money for things that you don't have, but work your way up. Work your way up and start becoming more comfortable aligning with the version of you that is more abundant around money. Well, how do they think? How do they talk? How do they behave? Start taking those actions to bring you closer and closer to that version of you and close that gap.
Oh, I love that. The actions are important. Even at that stage, it's difficult to take that smallest action. But I think it becomes, as you say, it compounds.
Yes.
Right? Even if you take that tiny little action of going ahead with the $3 apple, which is organic apple, it will accumulate and it will compound you to become that version which you actually want to hold.
Yes.
That richer version of you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. Would you love to share a little bit on your personal journey around money and your mindset? Like just specific to you. Like we have touched on common beliefs, but just specific to you, that what was your story? Because I want your story to also be known to people, that how you did. Yes, you were facing this, you did this, and this is what made an impact. And you are living a life which is like you're earning while sleeping. And actually, that's the thing. What a lot of people want to achieve, that they want to earn while they sleep, and everyone is working in their ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I teach people how to do it in my Quantum Life Masterclass.
Okay.
And I have it open for free. Because I just want to share the information. I don't even sell anything. I just created the course. I paid a lot of money to create the course, but I give it out for free because I just want to help people at this point. But I would do one-on-one coaching with high performing people. But however, my journey around changing my beliefs around money was first creating my avatar, my lifestyle. What lifestyle do I want? And I get very, very fine detailed on exactly what kind of lifestyle I want. That's around health, that's around wealth, that's around relationships, that's around lifestyle, that's around money, whatever I do. 8 different categories in life we cover. Because money is one aspect of life. There's many aspects of life. And money is one form of abundance, but there's many forms of abundance.
Correct.
And you can't reject one or the other. You have to accept all forms of abundance. And when I went through a progress of unlearning all my limiting beliefs that I had around money, that I've adopted from my childhood, from my parents, from my surroundings, and unlearning a lot of these habits and these limiting behaviors and beliefs, and start adopting behaviors and beliefs and actions of people that have an abundant lifestyle. How do they think? What do they believe about money? How do they act around money? What type of actions do they take? What kind of habits do they have? And slowly and surely, like, for me, it was like, yeah, you know what? I don't want to work a job. So let me figure out a way to create income passively from a different source. Okay, let me go to the grocery store and let me not buy the cheaper stuff. Let me buy the more expensive stuff because I believe that's what I deserve. And I slowly started becoming more and more comfortable. And, then it starts expanding to more things. Now I want homes around the world. I want things for my children, my future children, my children's children, right? I want amazing experiences. So that's another big thing I love to do. I like to fly my family around the world, have amazing experiences, take my family many different countries every year all together. Before I was just traveling by myself, but I'm like, I want to pay for everyone and take everyone with me too at the same time because they can't do it. So let me treat everyone. Experiences like this, right? So I love experiences. I'm not really a big car guy or,
Okay.
but you know what I mean? It's just not something that I'm always traveling around. So it doesn't even make sense for me. Not that I'm against it. It's just not for me, but I do spend money on things that I enjoy, which is experiences. So if I bought something just to impress someone else, it wouldn't be aligned to me because now I'm doing it for somebody else. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I do things that I spend abundantly for the things that I truly enjoy, right? So, it expands, right? You just increase you stretch yourself with nicer experiences because when you have nicer experiences, it's hard to downgrade. And as you stretch yourself, you try to figure out a way to fill the gap between where you are and to make that higher elevated experience normal. You want to normalize the elevated experience, right? Naturally.
You are living that life which people crave for. Are you still struggling with any belief at this point of time?
Yeah.
Do you think so? You are still working on the beliefs which are shaping your financial identity or your identity?
Yeah. The problems that's not problems around money. It's just you're able to hold more. You have to hold more. So like I always try to stretch myself. So I make investments that I know will require more stretching. It's very easy for me to be comfortable with what I have and just be okay with the lifestyle that I have and just call it a day, right? But I keep stretching myself to plant more seeds, right? So with investing, we have to wait for future returns. So you have to put down a large amount, wait for it to come to fruition and harvest, right? So I always keep stretching myself. So
you work with financial advisors, investors who help you or guide you to put money into the right baskets.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just have Dariush Sudi is a great mentor.
Okay.
He's a great mentor. I've had some other people along the way, so at every level there was a different person I think I found, or and sometimes they don't have to be in person. They can be a book or they could be a podcast or, I pay for people to mentor me too as well. So it's very important, So that's another thing with mentorships. People are scared to spend the money for coaches. The first thing that changed my life was paying for a course. Because what happens is that people that are scared to spend money on courses, it's like, okay, does your abundant version of yourself, are they scared to invest into themselves? Because this is your ultimate asset, is you.
Yeah.
So the more you invest into you, this asset is growing in value, right? The more books you read, the more people you meet, the more courses you take, the more mentorships you have. This is the asset they can never take away. So invest into yourself is the number one thing.
Yeah.
Make this asset grow, your human capital. Grow that asset, right? That's so important. So
I think that's a good way to start. If somebody wants to, get to that higher frequency, I think working on themselves is very important.
It's the number one thing.
Number one, you need to build your own asset.
Yeah, you are the asset. You are everything's coming. You're the source.
Yeah.
So it's all coming from you, through you.
Yeah.
Right.
Building up that asset which can hold, a bigger energy of money, right? Because you need to hold that energy.
Yes.
You need to have that capacity. That's what I've heard. Like you need to spiritually. I have just read somewhere. You need to have that capacity to even hold and grow that energy
Yes.
of money and wealth.
Yes.
Yeah. So, is there any like non-negotiable financial skills or tools which you can recommend to our listeners, which are like you have to, or something on your mind which you want to share with our listeners around financial skills? Or you have worked with mentors, right? When you were working with mentors, anything which helped you at that time, which you were like still carrying it till now? That yeah, this is something which I'll never.
Yeah, just learn the difference between assets versus liabilities.
I'll
Once
just-
you look at life as assets versus liability, because anything in your life is an asset or liability.
Okay.
People in your life can be an asset, or people in your life can be a liability. Some people deplete energy, some people give energy. Some habits are assets, some habits are liabilities. Some habits give you more energy or health or whatever, or some habits take. So everything can be everything in life is an asset or liability.
Okay.
So once you start taking inventory of every part of your life, then I think you will just start weighing things from that perspective, right? So
where you need to invest your time and energy and where you don't have to invest. So you create that balance. That's what you meant to say.
yeah. So, I mean, when you have that mindset, an investor mindset like that, you think asset and liability, you will start moving through life like that, right? So it's important to have that understanding. I would say that's a non-negotiable.
Okay. And since you said you work with mentors and all, like any piece of investment advice, or from your side, any sort of investment piece of advice you want to give to our listeners, if they are planning to have a passive income and they want the right knowledge or right framework to start with, or right areas where they should deploy their money, something you can share with our listeners, anything?
I would say buy your first piece of rental property.
Okay.
Anything.
Which gives you rent. You yield rent out of it.
Something, right?
Okay.
Anything. Because I think 90% of millionaires were created through real estate. 90%.
Okay.
90%. I would say that life, if you don't have a piece of real estate versus you do, it's like playing life on easy mode or hard mode. If you want to be on life on hard mode, you'll be renting for forever. But if you want to play life on an easier mode, you will have somebody paying your rent, because that's one of the biggest expense. So it's important to have, I would say that's the most practical thing. Okay. Anything, buy something,
Okay.
Something you can, because worst comes to worst, you can live in it, you can do something with it. You can rent it out, short term, long term, something, right?
Yeah.
So I like that perspective, but
Okay.
that's from a cash flow perspective. But learn to invest. Just invest in things. Think about your future. Don't think about just today.
Top areas where you think is the future is there, which you recommend to our listeners that they should invest in these kind of areas going forward, which are more futuristic and can yield them more ROI or profits?
I'd say cryptocurrency.
Okay.
I think cryptocurrency is great. I think it will be an integral part of the future. I mean, if you're in the right cryptocurrencies, right? I think there will be a lot of opportunities now and in the near future in cryptocurrency, in blockchain, AI, things of that nature.
Okay. Any threshold minimum you think they should?
Whatever you can.
Whatever
is comfortable.
Okay.
Whatever you're comfortable losing.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Take some risk. The biggest risk in life is not taking a risk.
Yeah.
Take risk, more risk, be comfortable around risk. Look, we're all going to die anyways.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen? When I was first starting on my entrepreneurial journey, I made a list. What's the worst case scenario?
Okay.
What is my fear? Because fear just comes up and your animal brain part of your mind thinks the worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario thinks you're going to be homeless. It thinks you're going to be under a bridge living somewhere. But if you really think about it, you're like, okay, what's the worst? How far away is that? Okay, so if my business doesn't go well, I lose all the money and nothing happens and I can't pay any rent and none of my friends will take me in. You didn't make a single friend that'll say, hey, sleep on my couch. Your parents are like, you don't come to my house.
Yeah.
You can't get a single job at McDonald's. You can't get any, nothing. Like only in that circumstance, it's really actually harder to fail than it is to succeed. You know what I mean? Because the likelihood of you falling that far is pretty difficult. Somebody will take you in. Or somebody, like it's kind of far. You think about how ridiculous it actually is, because your brain thinks worst case scenario automatically, right? It's just fear. Fear just comes up. So you have to think, like, really visualize, like, what is my brain really? What am I so scared of? It's like, oh, I think this is going to happen to me if I take this risk, right? But if you look at it, you're like, oh, it's very unlikely scenario. It's actually more likely that I will have some sort of success. I'll learn something. I'll fail and I'll learn something else, or I'll keep pushing forward and something will happen.
I think that mindset is also very important. The mindset to fail and then let it fail, even if it gets fail. Let's build again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get more and more comfortable. You were telling me you were uncomfortable with the camera, but as you are on camera more and more, you just become more comfortable with it, right? And it becomes more natural, and you understand, okay, I don't like when I say this, I like when I say this. The conversation flowed better when we spoke, like, there's just certain things you learn as you go, right? So just make mistakes and take risk and just keep going forward. And what's people's biggest fear actually on a subconscious level is the fear of what other people will say. That's actually what the biggest fear is. Like, what will people say if I fail? What will people say if I put myself on camera and I look like an idiot? My hair doesn't look good. My face, I didn't sound good. What will people think of me, right? So, but when you really think about it, it's like we're floating on a planet in the stars, and we're literally here for 1 second, and that's it. We're gone, and no one's gonna care. You don't think about your grandparents, what they were thinking about, or they were worried about what this person's gonna say. And we're all going. I like to think about. It's kind of sick, but I like to think about that. Hey, we're all going to pass. So these worries, are they that big? Is it gonna matter in 5 years? This worry I have. Will I think about, will this matter in 5 years from now? If not, then forget about it. Anything that you're worried about, or like you're fearful about, or you're fearful what this person will say or that person will say, will it matter in 5 years? No, then forget about it. No point of spending any more time worrying about it.
True. I'll throw some scenarios to you. Let's say somebody working in 9 to 5. Okay. They want financial freedom, but they are looking for stability and financial freedom at the same time. They want financial freedom, but the stability at the same time. What sort of advice you have for them?
I would say, don't quit your job. Keep the job. Start a side hustle, and then grow the side hustle. I would say, and if you want freedom, time, location, the easiest thing to start right now, I think, is e-commerce. Start an online store. That's what I did. I started online businesses while I was at work, and I would be at work starting my stores online. And they even looked at my, because IT can record who's surfing the internet the most, and I had the highest in the company at the time. But I still got my work complete. And in my opinion, it doesn't matter what you do as long as your work is complete, right? So. But e-commerce was the first bridge where I'm like, wow, I can make money outside of my job. Someone paid me for something I created online, and I didn't need to be anywhere. I could do it from anywhere. I didn't need to. I mean, there's many different forms of e-commerce where you don't have to put too much upfront capital or risk. You can just ship directly. You market the product, and somebody pays for it, and then you ship, and then you pay for the product, and then you make the margin. So, I mean, that's what I would do. I would say, don't quit your job, start a side hustle. If you want the stability and you want to start something.
E-commerce, I feel it's quite saturated.
Lots of people are making e-commerce money now. Like, they're doing TikTok Shop.
Okay.
I know that's really big now, and TikTok Shop is new.
Okay.
E-commerce will always be there. Everything's going digital. Market saturation, they were saying the same thing in 2017 when I started.
Really?
Everybody, they said, this is saturated. Everybody's doing it. It's so hard. Everyone said the same thing, So I know it's changed a little bit, but I think I was just talking to someone at the summit yesterday, but he was 17 years old, and he started an e-commerce shop, and he's selling products. So
wow,
I think he was doing Etsy shop or something like that. But remove that belief that the market is saturated and
that's
find people will pay
good
for
one.
something they like, So I don't think it's saturated. I think it's just different.
Okay, that's nice. So another scenario where when we talk about Gen Z and Alpha generation, which is coming, that this is the generation which starts earning right from the age of 15 or 16 years. They have their own companies.
Yeah.
They are working towards AI, and they're building AI agents, and they have their own companies and business setups. They're employing their own fathers.
Yeah.
So in those scenarios, like any sort of advice you want to give to alpha generations who, so that they can consciously build their financial models, any sort of advice which comes in your mind for them?
I would say for them, like take all the risk early, 15, 16, try everything, do everything, try everything, because now I wish I didn't even have a social media brand before, right? I just started. I think personal branding will be very important going forward.
Okay.
And I wish I started a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
So I would say start early. Start everything early. Start your businesses, your risks, your branding, everything early. And just keep going. That's it.
The more faster you try, the more you fail, the more you learn.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Digital nomads who want to work while they travel, but then they at the same time they're struggling with the stability of financial freedom.
Yes.
So what would you like to say to them?
For the nomads, I would say that depending on how much money they're making from their job, they need to take that and start owning things. You need to own some business, own some real estate, own a brand, own things. Own things that no one can take away from you. Right? That's important, I think, especially in a time of AI and things are changing so much. You need to own real things. It's important. I think nomading has been going on for a long time, and it's great, but there's still a little level of scarcity there and instability, which I think, I know for me, it was like, it's something that I wanted. Was after a while, I'm like, you get bored of it. So you want something more stable. So I would say own things.
I know traveling is good for a while, but then you need that, as you said, like initially when you started, you were traveling everywhere, but then you realized that you need to have your own space in different places, right? So you started stabilizing in different countries where you felt you are, or which aligned with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because you feel ungrounded after a while. You want to feel grounded and rooted, to a certain degree. You still want the freedom.
True.
You still want the freedom because that's, I think, the ultimate human experience. But
correct.
But you want some sort of stability. You want to feel grounded to some place at some point. So I would say own something or have something you can control, that's yours.
Okay. Any wrap-up message you want to give to our listeners?
I would say that, we're living in a time where I think the world is changing so much. And I think consciousness is rising all around the globe. And people are looking for truth. They're looking for answers. They're looking for a different way of living or being. And they've realized that the way the structure of life and reality has been until now, which is, get a good job and work a 9 to 5 and hopefully you'll retire one day. But I think people are realizing that they don't want that. And maybe it's not even guaranteed anymore, especially for Gen Z, that they're, companies are laying off lots of people and things are just changing so much. So it's very important, I think, the next 5 years to stay as adaptable as possible, create different types of skills. And the most important thing, I say, go in on yourself. I think you are the niche. You have your own unique life experiences and share that openly and authentically with the world. And you'll see the right people that are looking for you will find you. You're the most valuable asset. So just keep making yourself the most valuable asset. Work on your health, fitness, mindset, your beliefs, your comfort, your what you believe about yourself, about the world, what you deserve. And that's the best thing you can do.
Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for sharing your knowledge, your expertise, your strength, and you being unique in your own way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I'm sure something sinked in today around financial security, financial freedom. And if this episode made you pause or made you think about where you are, let's get to the next step. Let's reflect on the beliefs you need to change around money. You need to change around financial freedom. You just need to take one small action, that is working on your beliefs. If you work on those beliefs, they are going to take you to the next level. They're going to unlock your financial freedom, your financial security. So the action is you need to take that right step. So let's start today. Sit down, pause, and reflect what you need to change, and then world is just at your doorsteps. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening till the end of the show. Thank you so much.